Te Māori e whānau. So today I'm going to talk about digital equity in our prisons. And what I'm going to do is try and share my screen. And I'll try and get through these slides as quickly as I can. So digital equity, we're talking about a cohort that is like no other cohort in New Zealand. And we've heard about how disadvantaged various groups are, and absolutely that's true. But when we talk about people in our prisons, we're talking about an overrepresentation of Māori people, making up 15% of our population. They make up 52% of our prison population, and that's awful. 17% of our prison population are Pacific peoples. And again, that's awful. 60% of our people are hard of hearing. 60% of our people are dyslexic. They're overrepresented with ADHD. 60% have traumatic brain injury, and it goes on and on and on. So think about any equity group that you like, and we're talking about those people being overrepresented in our prison population. And so digital equity becomes crucially important when we're talking about those people. Oh, and I can't make my slides move. Awesome. Okay, hopefully you can see the second one. So what's digital equity when we're talking about people in prison, and or about anyone really? We're talking about this massive complexity of all sorts of factors, and it's not, as some of our speakers have already said, it's not about access to digital technologies, and it's not about access to connectivity, even though that's important as well. It's about if those things are available, can people afford them? If they can afford them, do they know how to use them? It's about cultural capital, it's about social capital, it's about gender, because all around the world, it's women who are missing out more than men. It's about aspirations. It's about knowing what digital technologies and digital access can do for you. So it's a whole complex interweaving of stuff, and I'm not going to pretend that I can actually get to the bottom of that and define it. So when we're talking about the problem, what are we talking about? I mean, who here looked at Facebook before they got out of bed this morning? That would be me. Who's performed an online financial transaction today? That's me, just making sure that the department paid me as they promised. Who's already emailed my boss, or not my boss, but your boss? Like lots of us. Who's looked me up on LinkedIn? Who's decided to see who else was on the panel? How many digital devices do we all have? In Australia, I did some research before I left there. And about 4 years ago, the average was to have, for a university student, to have 4 devices, 4 mobile devices on top of desktops and other tethered devices that they might have. So that's the problem. The problem is we have all this connectivity, all this technology on the outside with various levels of access, and we put people into prison and whammo, they've got nothing. They've got no access to digital technologies, and they have no access to internet. I don't know what my partner would do if I deprived him of his mobile phone for the evening. I don't know how he'd make it through the night. And yet we put all these people together in prison and expect them to just deal with that and get on with it. And what's more, we expect that when they get out, that they're going to somehow magically know how to participate in society. That ain't going to happen. So this is our current state. So in New Zealand, we're a bit luckier than most jurisdictions because we have computer labs called secure online learning suites where there is limited access to internet, limited access. We whitelist a handful of websites that people can access. And it's not anything that jurisdictions around the world have cracked, correctional jurisdictions. We all believe that denying people access to technology and to the internet is keeping our prisons safe and our communities safe. And I would argue that it's absolutely doing the opposite of that. We're creating people who, when they get to the outside, don't know how to participate in life, and they're the people who have to turn to crime to support their lifestyles. It's not just that there's not the technology. We're not teaching people how to use the technology. We're not teaching people how to interact with the outside. So where to from here? This is where I'd like to see, maybe not everyone with 3D glasses, but we need a bit more vision and foresight. I would like to see devices in cells with people. So either laptops or tablet computers, that those people in our prisons can access their whānau, that they can communicate with people, that they can do their financial transactions, that they learn how to be a part of the world, that they can access the learning that heaps of them never had access to before they went into prison. And in that way, if we can do that, we solve all sorts of all sorts of problems in our prisons. We help to address the problems of violence in our prisons, because people who are gainfully occupied and doing something are not wanting to belt each other up, or are not needing to seek illicit substances. And I'm not saying that they'll stop doing that, but certainly the emphasis goes off that. When they get out, they'll be able to participate in the workforce, because just about any workforce you go into, any occupation is going to need technology. Whether you're mowing lawns, you need to give quotes and ring up people and do stuff like that. These people will access the healthcare system less, and they will access social services less. And technology and participation in society and learning how to self-manage doing those things helps all of those things. So we really need to get this right, and we really need to get some technology in prisons. And we've got some really good pilot projects about to start, so I'm feeling optimistic. So ask me again in 2 years how that went. So I suspect this is my last slide, except to tell you where I got my photos from and to give you my contact details should you want more of a conversation about this. So thank you. Ngā mihi.